you worry so much about what might go wrong. But as you walk out in the middle and you hear the crowd going crazy, and you know that you've got an opportunity to either set the tone or, dig England out of trouble, you're like, come on, I want a bit of this today. And Brett Lee, I'm coming at you.
Unfortunately, you actually aren't the first night that we've had on the podcast. We've actually had Sir Alistair Cook on as well. So sorry, Cookie picked me to the post there.
Cookie beats me to everything, doesn't he? More runs, more centuries, more matches. I mean, typical. Absolutely typical.
Frustrating.
Yeah.
The way that we always start all of our podcasts on this sort of series, we do it with everyone, is basically finding out what your cricketing beginnings were.
Well, you know what? My first memories of playing cricket were bizarrely actually in Australia. So my family left South Africa when I was 6, and we went and spent about a year and a half in Melbourne in Australia. And I think that was the first time I lifted a cricket bat, and I remember playing for my school side in Oz. Needless to say, the first thing they teach you there is, how to sledge correctly. And so there's a lot of abuse, even at that age, at the age of 7 or 8 there. And, I suppose, because I just love all sports, really. And cricket was just something you did in the summer. And then I got to England and really played cricket at school. I wasn't one of these kids that was like, my parents were driving me up and down the country and I was playing junior club cricket, county cricket and whatever. I was just playing at school in the summer term and maybe a little bit of club cricket in the holidays, and in between that playing, tennis and golf and rugby and whatnot. And I suppose it was only when I was about sort of 18, I suppose, I went to Durham University and got into the Durham Uni team. And I just looked around me and everyone else in that team had a county contract apart from myself. And that was the time I started thinking, actually, for no other reason that I have a lot of student debts and I need to find some money in the summer, I should really give this a go. And one thing led to another. I had a couple of trials at Middlesex, got some run, literally had 2 trial matches, got runs in both for the county second team. And the next thing I knew, I was a fully sort of paid up professional cricketer, which, I had to pinch myself because I'd never really had that. Obviously, I had, like we all do, we have ambitions of being a great professional sports person and doing amazing things. But up till that point, it just hadn't seemed like a reality or even a potential reality for me. And then, once you're part of the system and you're in that sort of pathway, it becomes pretty clear what you need to do to get to the next level, and so, I'd like to think I was quite a quick learner and sort of forged my own niche at Middlesex and then on to the England team.
Can you remember the moment when you received that first England test call up, where you were, what you were doing, and can you remember? It's obviously a blur what happened after.
Very well, because I was on the golf course. I mean, you guys will probably remember, but I got called in at the last minute because Michael Vaughan got injured in the nets just before the start of the New Zealand series in 2004. And I was in great form. I was playing great for Middlesex, and suddenly I got this call up. And I think that's the thing you don't realise is, like, you're not in control of when you get called up for England, right? And so you're kind of waiting, even if you're next in line, that you could be next in line for a couple of years. And it just so happened that I was next in line. I was in great form. Vaughnie got injured. And, David Gravely, the chairman of selectors, said, Straussy, Vaughnie's injured, you're in. You're going to make your debut this week. And there I was at Lord's, my home ground. And I just felt like the biggest shot to nothing of all time. Like, go out. I'll probably only play 1 test match for the time being because Vaughnie will come back. Let's go and enjoy it and see what happens. And obviously for me, it was like all those sort of schoolboy dreams coming true in one go. Getting 100 at Lord's on debut and proving to myself that I could sort of deal with international cricket. It was the perfect start, and quite frankly, things all went downhill from there. That was like, you can't get much better than that.
So good. You know what? Because you think you've been in and around, and you've been like knocking on that door and put yourself in a position where it was as soon as anybody was, you were straight in, and that's an amazing position to be in, isn't it? Know that you are coming straight in. It's great that you actually saw it as a free hit as well, effectively. At Lords, playing for England, I'm not sure many people would see it as a free hit. It's such a great mindset to have, though. Let's talk about your run out on your debut. NASA took responsibility.
You should have done. It was the worst run I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I remember him coming up to me like, we were, I can't remember what we were chasing, like 250 odd to win against New Zealand or whatever. And he came up to me and went like, I think we just need to up the tempo a bit here because I feel like we're falling behind the rate. And in my mind, I was going, yeah, that's because you've been blocking out of it for the last hour and a half. But anyway, I said, well, look, don't worry, mate. We've got plenty of time. Just relax. It's all good. Anyway, and then the next over, he just hits one straight to point and starts running at me. And I'm like, no. And then by the time I'd sort of registered, he's already passed me, and I was the sacrificial lamb. So it was. I was just sort of at the end of a very long list of people who have been run out by NASA Saints. So I was quite happy to just add my name to that list. And
excellent.
And obviously, that ended up being his final innings for England. So yes, he did brilliantly. He went on and got 101 us the game, which was great. We were all pleased to see the back of him, quite frankly. And then, of course, suddenly you find yourself in probably the greatest Ashes series of all time, and as you say, like the whole nation getting behind us. So the two things that really helped me through that, first of all, like being part of a team environment helps so much. If you think about being in an individual sport and suddenly, I don't know, finding yourself at Wimbledon or in the Open Championship as a young guy who's not inexperienced, I think that would have been too much for me. But because I was surrounded by, people that were more experienced, who'd been there and done that a bit more before, could sort of feed off them. But also, I think what it boiled down to at the end of the day was like when you're out there in the middle, there's all this other stuff that's going on, and the world's going mad. There is only one thing you can do, and that is watch that ball as it's coming down. Like that is the only thing that you can do. And I found actually that series, as tough as it was, there was such a buzz. I just going out there. It's funny, isn't it? Because you don't sleep very well that series. You worry so much about what might go wrong. But as you walk out in the middle and you hear the crowd going crazy, and that you've got an opportunity to either set the tone or, dig England out of trouble, you're like, come on, I want a bit of this today. And Brett Lee, I'm coming at you. And like you get into that sort of fighters mentality, and that's what we all did over the course of those 7 weeks. And in a way, it was a shame that it was so early in my career because, in so many ways, that was undoubtedly the highlight in my career as well, being part of that series.
That doesn't surprise me a little bit, but because you've had such success, and the big one, especially the big one for everyone within the Barmy Army, being the Barmy Army podcast, was 10-11. So if someone asked you if you had to choose, you would go for 05, would you?
Well, look, I think, that's 05, you will appreciate this. 05 was different. It was different. It captured the imagination of the whole public. It was like, I remember us going out after we won the Ashes, at the Oval that after KP's knock, and we went out on the town in London, and there's like paparazzi outside nightclubs and stuff like that, and you're like, we are a big deal here. And again, a little bit like when I thought I was like Don Bradman, like you come crashing down to earth very quickly after that, don't you? But for those sort of couple of weeks, it was unbelievable. Whereas 10-11, I thought, as far as cricketing challenges go, there is no doubt winning in Australia is as hard as it comes. I honestly believe that. So much easier for us to beat Australia in England than it is in Australia. And I think, well, you guys will all be aware, but for all those traveling England fans that had got so used to us getting drubbed by Australia every time we went there, 10-11 was redemption, really, for them and for us players that, especially myself, who'd been part of that 2006 Ashes. So I think in terms of cricketing achievements, 10-11 definitely trumps 2005. But, that was more of a cricketing achievement rather than a sort of, I don't know, there was something bigger than that in 2005. I don't know why, but it felt bigger than just cricket to me.
A lot of people see you and Cookie, Sir Alistair, as the greatest opening partnership ever. So that's something. And also, I mean, do you think he missed you? Do you think he began to miss you a little bit when you'd gone? Because he just he couldn't quite find it for whatever reason.
One, Greggy, but...
I don't know how much he missed me. I think he got pretty sick of the revolving door that followed me. I think that was probably true. Look, I mean,
because it's such a difficult job, isn't it?
Enough great things to say about Cookie. Actually, I mean, you guys will be aware that he took over from me as captain, and it wasn't all, rosy for him. There were some really tough times for him, and some people went on the attack against him and blamed him for all sorts of stuff. And through all of that, he just did his thing. He remained dignified and he kept churning out the runs. And one of the great people, not one of the great England players, but one of the great people as well, Cookie. And I think we were a very good opening pair, and I think both of us were quite hard to get out at times. In some ways, we played a little bit too similarly to be a perfect opening pair, to be honest with you. We're both left-handed, obviously, and both our strengths were too similar in a way. So bowlers, if they were bowling well at Cookie, they were bowling well at me, and vice versa. Whereas early in my career, when I opened Marcus Trescothick, we were very different types of players, and in some ways that created more problems for bowlers. So it was just a great pleasure to play with both those guys, and we had some pretty special moments on the cricket pitch together, Cookie and I.
It's kind of come a little bit full circle in many ways, hasn't it? The support from the Barmy Army with the Ruth Strauss Foundation, in a way.
Yeah.
And the way that everybody has kind of bought into what you tried to do with the foundation in terms of, wearing all red, and the players obviously fully got into that as well. Were you, when you're kind of planning days like that and you're setting up a foundation, obviously in tragic circumstances, which you would rather have not happened at all, but you're trying to bring something positive out of it. And by goodness, you've done that, by the way. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. And I think everybody who's listening just wants to say, fantastic. It's just, what the foundation does is brilliant. Absolutely. And you can explain that, in a second. But how much heart do you take from the fact that everybody just, that feeling a couple of years ago, wasn't it, when you set it up, where everybody was wearing red and the players had red, and it was just brilliant. How much did that, obviously brought a tear to your eye in many ways for many different reasons, but that was fantastic, if you can use the word fantastic in a circumstance like that.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because the cricket world's a strange world. Obviously there's a lot of rivalries there, and, a lot of politics and all that sort of stuff. And, but actually it is an incredibly close family. People that love cricket, generally good people. And I certainly felt that warmth and that support at a time that I really needed it. That was sort of, that first Red for Ruth Day was 6 months after Ruth died. Obviously coming to terms with that new life that myself and my boys had. As you said, trying to set up a foundation in Ruth's name that was going to try and, attempting to keep her spirit alive, and obviously, help people that were going through something similar to what we went through as a family. And so just experiencing that first one, I was, of course, again, we weren't sure how it was going to land with people, to what extent people would buy into it. And so to see everyone turning up in their red and to feel that incredible wave of warmth, I think it was a real warm kind of like, we're here with you, Straussy and the boys. And it motivated me to push on with the foundation and for us to, obviously take it to the next level. And obviously it goes without saying, I'm so incredibly grateful for the support that you guys in the Barmy Army are giving us. It's because obviously, when you start a foundation, you can do one day, but you got to keep going. And if you're able to help one person or one family, you want to help 10 families, and so it takes on a bit of a life of its own. And I know we're going to have to keep leaning on the cricket family for more support as the years pass by.
More than willing to provide it. I'm absolutely certain of that. In terms of the purpose and the long-term goals of the Ruth Strauss Foundation, you say it's not just one day. Of course it's not. It's, you're working tirelessly every single day, aren't you? And you've got a team of people as well who are working tirelessly. You have to, because the scale's so massive. But in terms of what the long-term goals are, for the Ruth Strauss Foundation, what would you like to see? What would give you the most kind of pleasure from what's come out of it?
There's two aims to what we do. So that, on the one hand, there's the sort of the research into non-smoking lung cancers, which is obviously the cancer that Ruth had, and we need to play our own small part in making sure that people are focusing on non-smoking lung cancer just as much as they're focusing on smoking lung cancer, and because it's a small, cancer that not that many people have, the research money tends to go elsewhere. But the main focus really is this providing support for families when facing the death of a parent, and we're talking about like 40,000 plus kids every year in this country who are under the age of 18 that will lose a parent. And so, that's a hugely tough thing for any family to go through. And my own experience and our experience with Ruth was, if you have support before the parent dies, you can pave the way as well as you possibly can for what's to come, and you can be prepared for it. And you can put the kids in a place where they're in the best possible frame of mind, or they have the right possible support structure to allow them to go on and have really rich and fulsome lives on the back of losing their parent. And so we know that support's not provided really by anyone. And so that's our job, to try and help those 40,000 kids every year that are facing the death of a parent, help the parents themselves as they prepare for it. And so we're going to do that through counselling support directly through the foundation, and then also a training program to train healthcare professionals and hopefully teachers and other people to be able to provide that support in different settings as well. So big plans, big ambitions. It's going to cost a lot of money, which is why we obviously need to keep raising money. But hopefully we are supplying, or we will be supplying, a service that currently is not there for people.
Big fundraisers, Straussy. Come on, hit some of our listeners with stuff, how they can go about raising some cash for the Ruth Strauss Foundation.
Yeah, well, look, so if you're desperate to support us today, then the obvious thing to do is just to go to our website, ruthstraussfoundation.com, which will give you all sorts of information on what we do as a charity, but also ways to donate, and potentially, if you want to raise money on our behalf or whatever, or take part in a challenge or whatever, there are ways of doing that. And then, of course, the Red for Ruth Day that's coming up very soon, the India Test match at Lord's. Red for Ruth Day is going to be the 13th of August. That's going to be a massive day again, and there'll be ways for people to sort of text to donate. There'll be some great auction items. We were absolutely flabbergasted last year at Old Trafford. I think we raised just shy of £900,000 from that test match, and obviously we'd be desperate just to push through the £1 million barrier this year. So that's coming up. we're currently, I was going to say losing our hair, but obviously that's not relevant to me because that's all gone. But it's a stressful time sort of getting everything organised, but it's going to be a great day, and with potentially a full crowd there as well. It's going to be really special and a good way to sort of reconnect everyone with our mission and what we're trying to do at the foundation.
Absolutely. I mean,
we'll also be supporting that day, Greggy, at the Sixers at Great Portland Street. We're running an event for the Barmy Army to get down and sing some songs and watch it together for those that aren't lucky enough to be at Lord's on the day. So we'll be supporting throughout the summer, but also into the Ashes and then into the West Indies as well. So I'm hoping for a long, loving partnership where we raise lots of funds for the Ruth Strauss Foundation on tour.
All the best with that and a busy summer ahead. And thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, no problems. And just one thing from me, I'll just say, and you'll do this anyway, but just never underestimate how important you guys are, not just for the English cricket team, but also just for the game of cricket, full stop. You know, it's a way of differentiating cricket from other sports. You know, the way you do it, the humour, the undying support, it's brilliant. And you know, we always try and show our appreciation as players, but we can never do full justice to it. So, you know, well done, guys. Keep going. And there are plenty of great times for English cricket coming up around the corner.